I would like to start by saying that yes, there is a story mode for The Long Dark, but it's not really for me. I've heard a few good things about it, so I would say it's definitely worth it if you think you like something like that. But for me, survival is just where it's at, and this video will only be discussing survival. The Long Dark is a very special experience. Today, when there's tons and tons of survival games, only very few get survival really well, and I'd say even fewer get it as well as The Long Dark. You know, you have your Subnauticas, your Don't Starves, which I would say are some of the best survival games on the market, but both of those games have a different goal after you achieve a certain level of knowledge in surviving. In Don't Starve, you slowly explore the world and uncover the dark secrets it holds. In Subnautica, you delve deeper and explore new areas. Survival slowly but surely becomes a question of how good are you at combat or avoiding detection, rather than a constant struggle for resources. And this is where The Long Dark shines the most. From my experience, I have not yet been at a point where I can put my hands up and say, I'm set. I can do whatever the hell I want because I have enough resources to last me a lifetime. That is simply something I don't think can be reached. It may be possible for extremely experienced players who know the game inside and out, but for anyone who's new to even seasoned veterans, I'd say the game still is a constant fight for survival.
Worked.
First thing many players will realize when getting into The Long Dark is just how thick the atmosphere is in this game. Every little sound was given all the attention, from you moving around with your backpack full of things, to the storm outside howling through the windows and shaking them in their frames, to things like ambience for each individual building. Every little bit of sound in this game feels like it has been made with an intention. And I would say the intention was not to make a game that just feels good to play, but just feels good to listen to. Take a listen yourself.
Could end up being useful.
This game simply wouldn't be the same without this beautiful sound design. and to complement it, also a very fitting visual style. The hand-painted or hand-brushed aesthetic of the entire game makes it feel very comfortable, which contrasts very well with the deadly everything. For every piece of difficulty the game can throw at you to try and end your life, it also gives you a sense of accomplishment and comfort when you brave the storms and find a nice house where you set up a fire, roast some food, drink a bit of water, and, well, survive. That's really what you do in this game. You survive, and that's the end-all be-all goal of whatever you do in the long dark. There's no secret story to uncover, there's no way to escape the wilderness. You're just here, forever until you die eventually. Now, you can, of course, focus on things like getting a bow to hunt, so that your resources aren't limited by how much ammo you have, for example. But those still fall under the category of your survival. You depend on them, and getting them is not something to advance to a later stage of the game, just to make the survival that you're going to be in anyways a little bit easier on you. And since you're gonna be surviving and doing just that for the entirety of the game, you may slowly start to see a sort of loop of survival appear, with the first step being hope. You enter a new location, it's ripe with resources, the houses are full of food and whatever you can find. You're basically guaranteed to live unless you get attacked by a wolf or a bear. Then, after you go through every single house, scavenge everything you could, you have a pretty good idea of how long you can survive with what you have, but you no longer have the certainty of having the resources you need to survive a few days on, since you've already taken everything, and so you must go out, and explore, and hopefully find new resources somewhere. Then, depending on how lucky you are or how well you know the game, you start entering the third stage of the survival loop, which I like to call, well, probably just the survival part, where you try to ration out your resources as much as you can to last as long as you can. You make sure your exhaustion and temperature aren't at a critical level so that you can continue going on. And you try to avoid any dangers that might put you at risk of death or slowing you down to the point where you would run out of resources before you get to the new place. Then there's the possible middle stage between step 3 and step 5, which I like to call desperation. This point will mostly happen to you when you don't know the world that much. You don't know where shelters are located, so you never know what's behind the next corner, and you're just hoping that you find some resemblance of a house, a shed, whatever that can provide you with some sort of food and shelter from the cold. Here you slowly but surely start to accept the possibility that you might not make it, and that this will be the end of your journey. You find yourself at this point many times throughout your first playthroughs, and I've definitely found myself there plenty of times. However, step 5 is the deciding factor, because it's either death or it's hope again. When you've been trudging through the snow for days, possibly, slowly running out of resources, blizzards taking you down, making you freeze almost to death, it's very hard to keep a positive outlook. But every now and then, just as you think that your run is going to be over and that this is where it ends, in the corner of your eye, you just spot a building covered in fog. You come closer and you realize, oh my god, I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna live. And the cycle just begins anew. Gather resources, realize how much time you've got, and go and risk it all to survive a few days more, hopefully. Another aspect of this game I very much enjoy is your relation to it changes with how much you play. Similar to other games that others may know a lot more than this one, like Dark Souls and Elden Ring for example, you start out at the bottom of the food chain, not knowing anything, not having any skills, barely knowing how the game works and how the world looks, and you just try to survive, you do your best. But with time, you start learning the maps, you start learning mechanics, you learn to use every bit of time effectively to maximize your survival, you learn to hunt and how to cure animal parts, you learn to craft, you learn places where you can craft, and slowly but surely, you become a part of this world, and with enough time, you become the top of the food chain. Now, of course, you're never truly done with surviving, but you know your way around most of the world, and whatever troubles may find you, you'll probably know how to deal with them. And with this, for example, when I started out playing The Long Dark a few days ago, well, a few weeks with the release of this video, I started on Voyager difficulty, which is basically medium, a balance of exploration and survival. And at first, it was very challenging. My first few runs, I just died because I didn't know anything. But as I learned the game, I found myself bored. I was just so safe in Voyager that I didn't feel like I was surviving anymore. I was just going through the motions. And so I just stopped my playthrough and started a new one on Stalker difficulty. And boy oh boy, does it really make a difference. I'm surviving once more. I haven't gotten to a point where I would feel reasonably safe with the resources I have. I've actually barely got to a point where I have the basic tools needed to, well, survive long term. And I can't wait to be able to feel comfortable playing on Stalker difficulty and then learning the game on Interloper. And possibly after that, creating my custom game modes to increase the difficulty even further, to create the ultimate survival experience. And I very much enjoy this, because you don't have a lot of games with difficulty that actually scales in a fun way. Usually it's just a change in number, more health to the enemies, less damage to your weapons. But since The Long Dark isn't that sort of a game, difficulty really matters, and I think they've done it very well. And the fact that you can make your own custom difficulty is amazing. Oh, and that's not even counting all the challenges the game has prepared for you. Though so far I don't feel I'm ready to take them on. I have tried this one and...
This will be useful.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, that's The Long Dark for me. A really, really tough survival game that has amazing atmosphere, beautiful sounds, just everything being right there for you to enjoy, as you try your best not to die from frostbite, wolf attacks, bear attacks, starving, dehydration, electrocution, whatever. And for all that it throws at you, it rewards you with some of the best feelings of accomplishment and, well, being able to survive that I've ever had the chance to experience. It's really a game I would recommend experiencing for yourself if you haven't done that already. Just be ready to die a few times. It's a ritual.